I'm going to play a little bit of Stephen Colbert regarding Mr. Cugino, the gentleman who was pushed and fell backwards and hit his head and did a lot of stuff. Colbert is going to totally ridicule what Trump said, and I think what Trump said is completely right, very intelligently spoken by Trump. And the fact that we got somebody like Stephen Colbert who will just ridicule intelligent things said by the president and mock it, it just makes him a gaslighter. And I just really hope enough people call him on it, but nobody will. That's the thing. Nobody in this country will call Colbert on all the BS he does regarding gaslighting of the president. So I'm just going to play clips. I may interrupt them because it's hard to listen to Colbert speak his gaslighting magic without interrupting.
Buffalo police violently pushing an elderly protester to the ground.
Okay, well, first of all, they didn't push him to the ground. They pushed him or shoved him because he was blockading them, and he had already touched the police officer twice with some kind of scanning device. If you watch it in slow motion, you see he's scanning something and he hits the officer twice in the wrist, and he refused to get out of the way. So he just pushed him, and the guy who pushed him, when he saw him fall to the ground, he goes, like, you know what he said. He just, like, you know, he's swearing because the guy fell and hurt himself. Meaning he didn't want him to hurt himself. He just pushed him to push him out of the way. All right? But Cugino did something that caused himself to fall and hurt himself worse than he had to. And Trump caught it. He totally gets it.
To the ground. Now, the man involved, Martin Cugino, is in serious but stable condition, and we all hope for his speedy and complete recovery. But Trump isn't buying the kind, fragile old man act. No, because he tweeted, "Buffalo protester shoved by police, could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Cugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment."
He was doing something with that device. I don't know what he was doing, but that's all that's all Cugino cared about, was that he had this device. He was he hit the officer twice with it, and he was moving it back and forth. I mean, what more could he do to not be? That's not a provocateur. That's not a peaceful protester. That's somebody who's trying to cause problems. That is a provocateur, is what I'm saying. I mean, if he were a real peaceful protester, he would have had a sign. He would have stood in between the marching rows. He would have put the sign up so the camera could see it, but so that he wouldn't be blocking anybody's path. So he'd get what he wants. He'd get his message, the officers going by, and that would be it. But he took a different path, and he's a really tall guy too. So he looked like he was a few inches taller than the officers.
The equipment. I watched. He fell harder than was pushed. Was aiming scanner. Could be a setup. Let me get this straight. This 75-year-old man is an anti-fascist, which you somehow consider suspicious. He was somehow able to fall harder than he was pushed.
Yes. That happened to me last summer. I was on a step ladder, and I was trying to push a 4x8 piece of wood above me, and I didn't have enough leverage, so I pushed, and it didn't move. So my stepladder went backwards. As I was going backwards, I pivoted, turned around so that I could try to stumble away, and I failed. And as I stumbled away, I gained speed. Yeah, it's possible. My gosh. And I've even got videos. If you go back to last August of 2019, I have a couple of videos where my face is all messed up because I fell on my face. And yeah, I literally sped up as I fell. Yeah. The difference is, however, I had my back, and I knew I needed to move to my front. So I let go of the plywood, and because I knew if I didn't, it actually would have fallen on me and could have killed me because it could have ended up on my neck. So I literally pushed it away. When it didn't go and I fell backwards, I let go and I just kept going. But I shifted. I had nothing in my hands that I was worried about. Whereas this protester, had the scanner in his hand, and at all times, he did not want to let go of that scanner or whatever it was.
He was pushed, fake a fractured skull, and spontaneously bleed from his ears, all the while operating a secret scanning device in order to black out all police communication.
Well, I mean, what is he doing that doesn't make any sense? He did the scanning first, before he fell, and as he was stumbling backwards, he refused to let go of that scanner and brace himself in case he fell. He literally looked over one shoulder, then over the other, and the whole time, if you watch his hand, he's holding on to that scanner. He will not let go. If you're holding on to something, you're not going to have as much ability and dexterity to move your body the way it needs to move so that you can support your fall. He should have literally let go of the scanner and kept pivoting in one direction so he would have been forward to the ground and he could have used his forearms to support himself as he fell to the ground. That's what I did, and he didn't because that scanner was the most important thing to him. So yeah, the whole thing is suspicious. Why that scanner was so important to him versus falling in a safer manner and maybe even preventing the fall, that's up to Cugino.
Communication equipment. Man, those jitterbug phones are getting really sophisticated. This big button is 911.
This wasn't a jitterbug phone.
One with a smiley face called
Why is this funny? He's making fun of the elderly right now.
The hammer and sickle starts a populist revolution. No, later? Okay. Trying to demonize the man because he knows he has to. Face calls my grandson. Oh, and the red one down here with the hammer and sickle starts a populist revolution. No, later? Okay. Trump is trying to demonize the man because he knows he has to convince all the old white voters that he needs to get reelected.
What is this racist crap? You know what? This is the guy who would never help an old white voter. He will never talk about the abuse going on in nursing homes. He'll never talk about how seniors are being violated, their rights are being violated, EMTALA laws. He'll never talk about that stuff. So this is the guy who needs the young people to keep his big salary and his job and his ratings. He focuses all of his content to people aged 40 and under, maybe 45 and under. And here he is talking about the older people, old white voters, like they don't matter. You know, lives do matter, and everyone who lives becomes old, whatever race you are. So this whole thing is just about him making his money. His whole shtick is about, I got to impress the younger voters. I don't care about the older voters. Seth Meyers does the same thing on his TV show. They all pander. All the older white late night TV show hosts constantly pander to those 45 and under. That's what they do. And they're just having a heyday now because they don't want the attention on them. All the stuff they could have been doing all this time that they never did. Oh, now their eyes have been opened and, oh, yes, we've got to do something. They could have been doing something else. I did more in my videos over the last few years in my articles than these clowns ever did. I identified that Myles Garrett was framed, that was self-defense. I think Jussie Smollett was a perfect example of an African-American owned show literally selling him off to Fox at the lowest possible price for years. And he lashed out. Whether you agree with what he did or not, he should have been paid more money. And I pointed that out. These clowns would never talk about that. They have no guts other than to now act like they're the good guys and, you know, we're with you. I really hope nobody falls for the act. And then he just goes on and on.
To get reelected, not to sympathize with Gugino, which is a tall order because it turns out Martin Gugino is a pretty sympathetic character. He's a longtime peace activist and a member of a human rights organization called the Western New York Peace Center, and a member of a group who focuses on affordable housing called Push Buffalo. Well, given what just happened to their member, they may want to consider changing their name to Don't Push Buffalo. Maybe most damning to these conspiracy theories is that Gugino is also a member of a group called The Catholic worker movement formed in the...
All this stuff's irrelevant. If he was that experienced of a protester, he knew what he did was wrong in every way. In every way. And the police officer who pushed him, who shoved him, didn't want him to fall to the ground and break his head open. Okay? He pushed him out of the way, and he pushed him after he was touched twice in the arm with the electronic item. That's just what happened. You can even hear him swear like he's saying, damn it. Like, I didn't want the guy to fall over. I just wanted him to get out of the way. You can see it in the guy's expression. So this is just another ploy to try to somehow imply that the Democrats will save you and the Republicans are the ones pushing you down. And it's just BS. It's the media that's pushing everybody down. It's the lawyers. Lawyers will not take a legal case if it's under $100,000. They have no interest. Did you know if you ever get offered a $30,000 settlement, you think, wow, I got $30,000. That's like the max for a lot of insurance policies, where if you pay up to that amount, you don't have to report it to your insurance. That's why this $30,000 figure gets bandied about a lot in cases. And the lawyers don't want to deal with it. They'll talk to the guy and say, just take the 30 grand, even though you were aggrieved for a lot more, just take the 30 and be done with it. That's the world we live in. Nobody protects the poor legally. And that's been going on for ages. And that's your core issue. So don't make this into a Democrat-Republican thing. You're just going to be fooled. And you're going to be fooled by people who you shouldn't be trusting. People like Colbert. This is about him and having his popularity and his money. He would never help anyone his own age because he's well off. He wants to stay well off. And he does that by catering to the younger crowd.
Formed in the 1930s, the movement described itself as committed to nonviolence, voluntary poverty, and the... blockading a police officer's path and hitting him twice on the arm with your electronic device and not getting out of the way, just standing up in front of him, that's not nonviolent. That's violent. So, anyway, just don't be fooled. And let's play what Trump said one more time, because I think he was right on. And let's leave with Trump's words, because once again he nailed it. Gugino, which is a tall order because it turns out
Okay, I got to go back a little farther. Let's just do this once more. And here we go.
Old Man Act. No, because he tweeted, Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Gugino,
which is true,
was pushed away after appearing to scan
yes,
police communications.
And he touched the officer twice while he was scanning.
He fell harder than was pushed.
Yes, he did. He stumbled and fell and accelerated, all because he did not want to let go of his scanning device. Watch the footage frame by frame. You'll see him, his head's turning left and right. He's got the thing in his hand, and the whole time he will not let go of it. And that made it worse. So, I don't know what his deal was, why whatever he had in his hand was more important than his own health. But apparently, again, it's watch where I'm going. That seems to be
fascist, which you somehow consider suspicious. He was somehow able to fall hard.